week on Silver Screen Queens, we cover the 1979 classic Alien. Sigourney Weaver whoops intergalactic ass in the space odyssey that makes our chest cavities pound. Ridley Scott's classic sci-fi chiller about 7 astronauts who find intergalactic horror in deep space. Tom Skerritt plays the captain of the spaceship Nostromo, whose crew is picked off one by a seemingly indestructible creature. Sigourney Weaver is the tough Ripley, who faces the killer in a final showdown that made movie history. Let's get into it.
All right, witches, strap in, because if you haven't put this together yet, this movie is about to get spoiled. So get ready.
Hello, everyone. I am Stephanie. And the last 2 songs I listened to were Glitter by Todrick Hall and Bathroom Bitch by Holy Child. And if I were to have a body part that I could leave anywhere in the world for someone to discover unknowingly, it would probably be one of my boobs. That'd be fun. Yeah, you'd know where it
I would make it my personal mission to go and find it.
I would
that
hope so.
That would be our Ark of the Covenant.
I'd hope someone would cast it in bronze.
Gold,
Done.
baby. Platinum titty. I am Emily. The last 2 songs that I listened to were Walk on the Wild Side by Lou Reed. Of course. I mean, and here's the thing about that song. It is so problematic. The last song I listened to was less problematic. It was Seven Devils by Florence and the Machine.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that one's better. So let's highlight that one. And if I were to leave a random body part for someone to find, it would be my right leg because it's problematic as well. I've had a lot of surgeries on that leg. I don't have feeling in a lot of it due to a American flag incident. Stabbed me right through my leg, fucked up all my nerve endings, almost had to get it amputated. It was a whole thing. But I think it would perplex people. And I would hope it would be one of those things that people would find 12,000 years. And they were like, were people just fucked up in the past?
Wait a minute.
It just happened to happen upon me.
Yeah, and that's my dream for you, is you are a science experiment for life and beyond.
I love it.
So did you guys see the reminder that at one point they found King Tutankhamun's throat, and they were able to recreate his voice, but only the scream, and it was like,
They built it up. They were like, by 3D printing his esophagus, and then it gets all quiet, and he's like, and that's it.
Oh
my favorite part is a comedian quote tweeted it, and his first name is Ayo or Ayo, I guess, and he was like, "No, this is literally how you pronounce my name." Oh.
I literally love that they found a fucking ancient Egyptian god, and then they recreated his orgasm sound.
How disappointed do you think they were after spending years and hundreds of thousands of dollars to build this fake esophagus, which at least one person tried to fuck, and they were like, okay, now we will hear the voice of a pharaoh, and it was just like,
guys, if they DNA tested that fleshlight, it would come back fucking
bonkers.
It would light up.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Amazing.
But it's just, what else did they expect? Because of course that's the sound he made when he died, and that's how his throat is formed.
Right. It's gonna be
they're not going. And I know in Egyptian times they did a lot to the body, but of course they didn't obstruct it so much that it really fucked up whatever throat arrangement was going on.
Also, I don't even care if they're like, this is in good condition. It's 7 bajillion years old. It's still not worth doing that for. What you doing? You know
what was the expectation? It would be to be or not to be. For that, right. No, you were gonna get a yap the whole time. That's what was gonna happen.
I think this is the most poignant fight we've ever had about something we are very upset about. We're not fighting, we're all very upset. Passion. That exists. Yeah. This is upsetting. Okay.
I'm Blaine, and the last 2 songs I listened to were Werewolf by Cat Power and Are We Still Friends by Tyler, the Creator.
Oh, yum.
And the body part I would most like to just leave randomly somewhere in the world for someone to find is my right forearm, because it has my 4 favorite tattoos on it.
Yes. I
and
want
it
that
would
though.
contribute something to society, I would hope.
I want that because, you know, you're reminding me of the fact that this morning I was petting my dog and I was thinking, you know, when he dies, is it weird that I like want his skull?
No, that totally makes sense.
I'm
Lou
just
wants
saying.
all of our dogs stuffed.
I did just order you guys the Tutankhamun dildo kit that they made for $17 billion. They spent a good $8.5 million on that.
That's what I want.
Is it just like his throat, but it's like a sucking sex toy?
It's just they filled the throat with like that plastic goo, and they're like, "This is like a dick, so it'll work. It'll fit. It'll fit."
It's the womanizer, but
Womanizer.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of like peanut butter that white men shoved into like some bones, and it's like, this works, right? This is what women want.
Speaking of safe place, Alien has very few of those, and it's a Stephanie transition. I'm just kidding.
Transition.
Oh my God, Blake, did you do that for real? Wait, do it
Yes,
again.
I did.
Do it again.
I did it on purpose.
Do it again.
Transition.
I'm sorry. Okay, so I just want to say, I assume we've all seen this movie many times.
Yes.
I only saw it twice.
Okay, so that's still
let me
good
tell-
though.
It is. I mean, well, I'm proud of it, you know?
But I think that for this, as I watch it, it's interesting because it is a long movie, but it's very slow and methodical. So really not a ton actually happens, which is kind of crazy.
So the first time I watched this movie was actually in late February, early March of this year.
Oh, shit.
So it was directly after we launched our first episode of this podcast, and word had gotten around the office at my job. And so my dear coworker, Fred, who is old enough to be my father and is super cool. He loves all the coolest shit. Fred, I doubt you listen to this, but if you do, you're wonderful. He came to me immediately and he was like, so what about Alien? And I was like, you know what? I don't like outer space. Like, that's not something I'm into. And he's like, okay, but what if I told you that this movie is basically a haunted house in outer space? And I was like, you son of a bitch.
Okay. Yeah, Fred. Is it Texas Chainsaw? Yes, Texas Chainsaw in a spaceship. Now open the mouth.
Like, that's how he hooked me. And like, I saw it and I loved it.
So I saw this movie the first time, I don't know, it was probably like 8 years ago. Doug and I watched it together, which is still late to the game for how much sci-fi I've watched in my life. Anyway, I was told it was a sci-fi movie and then was very disappointed because I was like ready for some Star Wars.
Yeah. It was all fi, no fi.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and then it was a slasher in space, which I love slashers.
Yeah.
But it's like when you think you're about to drink soda and it's water, like it's not bad. It's just not what you
I would
think
rather
it
it
was
be
gonna
vodka.
Then you're having a good day.
I think kind of the same. I feel like I saw this maybe 10 years ago. I was going down a path of watching like original Stepford Wives and Soylent Green.
So
and
good.
I was trying to watch a bunch of old movies, and I'm pretty sure I saw it then. But as I rewatched it now, and we've said this before, that we have a more critical take on movies when we watch them for the podcast, I remembered a very different movie than what I just saw. I have a couple fun facts that I really want to talk to you guys about that I think are very interesting and talk about your sci-fi points. 20th Century Fox and every other studio actually had initially passed on this script because sci-fi, nobody wanted to do sci-fi in 1977, and it was pretty violent, so they didn't want to do it. But then Star Wars came out, and so Fox was like, shit, we got to do this. So they looked for all the sci-fi scripts to make, and they revisited Alien and greenlit the film. So the original title of Alien was supposed to be Star Beast. But fucking thank God that nobody liked it. So they used Alien, and this movie was about $8.5 million to make. The design work was actually mostly from a failed adaptation of Dune. They just
Oh yeah.
they just repurposed that. And this is fucking cool. None of the characters in the script are gendered. In the OG script, the gender of a character was never identified, which allowed for flexibility to cast men or women in any role. And this resulted in all of the characters being referred to in the film only using their last names.
Wow.
I love it.
Filmed over 14 weeks between July and October 1978.
That's crazy to me. How many of the franchise have you guys seen?
I have
Just
seen
one.
I've seen
Just this one. Okay.
I've seen the first. I think I saw 1 through 3.
Okay. So I think I have the widest
Yeah.
berth here.
Always.
So I've seen everything except for Alien Covenant. So there's Alien, Aliens, Alien 3, Alien Resurrection, Prometheus, and Alien Covenant.
The way it opens, you just open on a badass fucking ship gliding through space. You're immediately introduced to the Nostromo, and I just really enjoyed, now coming off of covering Near Dark, and we're talking about Catherine Bigelow, and she was married to Ridley Scott. And so this was a very stylistically beautiful, everything was just very dark. Just, I don't know, the cinematography is one of the things I really enjoy about this movie.
The budget, as Stephanie relayed, was $8 million for this movie, which is very low. I put that into the adjustment for inflation calculator,
Amazing.
That comes out to either 43 or 46 million today.
Okay.
And just for reference, Jurassic World had a 150 million budget. Yeah.
And it was still a hot turd.
I feel like they were able to scrape some bits and pieces from a bunch of different sci-fi movies.
And that was the culture at that point, too.
Yeah.
They also had a lot of the lighting effects from The Who were practicing staging in the soundstage next door.
Yeah.
So, like, at that point in horror or in film in general, you were just borrowing from the other people filming nearby. And you didn't need this, like, conflated budget where you had a bunch of people doing CGI or, like, all of these ridiculous stage setups and whatnot.
I just genuinely feel like everybody involved in this movie was so invested, because you can feel it.
But some of the discussions around sex and nudity and the nitty gritty that, you don't see a lot in this time or in any film really shows how everybody was just a community in this. And it was really a group effort in making this happen.
So one of the first scenes you get is the team is in these pods in a room that goes from dark to light. And they're in these fucking beautiful, look like, the eggs you shove in your vagina pods.
Please don't shove eggs in your vagina. We love you.
Nobody ever do that. Please, God. Pods open up and the people are in there and they're all wearing the fucking Fifth Element fucking wraps. And literally, my first thought was, a vacant.
Can I tell you what my first thought was? It's the fucking worst because they're all in their underwear, basically. Like, they're all in their own little eggs, which lends to the computer system being mother. And so, like, just the opening where everything's stark white and they're in their own little pods or whatever, I'm like, this is either a music video for Alien Ant Farm or the Backstreet Boys.
Oh, Backstreet's back. All right. Yes.
And there's no in between.
No, that's exactly it. Also, there are questionable physics happening.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know exactly how space works. I don't know if there's a switch you can flip, especially in fucking 1979, that you can just be like, gravity, no gravity.
I don't know. They could tell me that you can make popcorn up there. I don't know.
Could you not? That would be important.
I don't know. What's excellent about the way it's done is that it doesn't date itself in any way. You have no concept of when this is, how advanced shit is. You have no idea. And they do such a great job of isolating you from that. So everybody wakes up after their fucking vagina pods. They are sitting around a large table. It's an IKEA space fair. And they're eating cereal from those Tupperwares that were really popular on QVC in the early 2000s, like the big rectangular ones.
They're great.
I love them, but they are impossible to stack. I'll tell you that.
Who doesn't have those? There's about 8 people in the room. We don't actually have all their names yet, and one of them is clearly hungover as fuck. And we later learned that the hungover guy, fucking Brett. They're all talking. Dallas, who ends up being essentially our captain, goes into this room that I want to just say, this control panel room where Mother is headquartered would be baller for selfies. It is lit as fuck, glittery lights. This would be the perfect place for like that. You want that dim highlight chic. And he asks the computer, who we learn to be Mother, what's the story, Mother?
Dallas in this movie is McGreedy in the thing.
Yes.
He's a fucking
That's
worst.
all you need to know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
But,
exactly what I thought. Like, and that's fantastic. Thank you so much for pointing that out, because there were a couple instances that I didn't even write down in the movie where I was like, wait, they did that in the thing.
Yep.
There's a scene where then the whole crew, which we don't really know everybody yet, but everybody gets to their positions. They're looking like they're gonna kind of make some moves right now, and they go to their positions. And later, Lambert goes to sit at her spot in this elaborate spaceship setup. And I see that in the background, I think these are cigarettes. It was called Ralph Imperial. So Ellen is Ripley. And she is talking about that basically they're getting something on their radar that's not in their system and they don't know what it is. And you're starting to get a sense of the hierarchy here. You're starting to get a sense that your blue collar workers are Brett and Parker, and they're not really happy with their stake in the spaceship environment, and everybody else kind of an asshole. Yep. Mother appears to have they've gotten a beacon of unknown origin and is moving their route. So they're only halfway home, and we learned that this is a commercial ship. It's not a rescue ship or anything like that. It's not investigative. It's just a commercial ship. Parker, who is played by Yaphet Kotto, is angry because he wants a bonus, because he's like, we have been on here too long. We should be getting a bonus.
Yeah. And like at this point, I'm like, and when I first watched this, I was like, oh, okay, so this guy's just like, hey, this isn't what I signed up for. I need more money. But no, like, legit, they've been out here for so long, and now they've identified this place that they may need to land, and he's like, no, I'm not getting paid enough for this.
Yeah,
like, we've been out here too long.
Of course, he's the only person of color, and he is like essentially a maintenance worker, and he is also the only person who does any work the whole time.
Right.
Do you know
Brett's just a parrot the entire time? He's like, right.
I hate that they do to both Brett and Parker is they make them basically, they're like the stoners and whiners. And I'm like, why do they have to be like that? You'd think there are two men. If you saw in the intro the bigness of this motherfucking spaceship, you'd be like, dude, these guys deserve everything. Here's
the thing. This movie was made during the Nixon-Reagan era.
And so
blue class workers, not even mentioning black workers, were seen as less than.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I can't.
Because they make less money, they're more likely to do drugs and more likely to get involved with crime and everything. Yep. So it is not a surprise that they were seen as less than in this script and movie.
We learn as they're going to investigate the signal they got, and they're starting to try to land, and they kind of like crash and shit sets on fire. There's not really an understanding of why that happened and what happened. So basically they land, and we learn that, so we have a character named Lambert, who is our other only other female character.
Can we talk about Lambert real quick?
Yes, that hair is David Bowie fierce.
Lambert, to me, first stood out because she was a character in Witches of Eastwick. She was the one who threw up the cherries, and she was like the God-fearing woman of the town, and she went crazy and like barfed up all these cherries and was like, eat, 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 eat. And like her husband murdered her, which was like, still to this day, like, is just a fantastic moment in horror history. But more recently, she was the tarot reader in Sabrina, or the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
Shit, was she? No way.
No shit.
Jesus Christ. My mind is blown. That's like my favorite episode too.
That's amazing. Ripley is a very strong stoic character. Lambert is much quicker to fear and like panic. And
Well, she's much more relatable, honestly.
Yeah, because she is like having like fucking, first of all, Sigourney Weaver as Ellen Ripley is like the queen of my life. Cool under pressure, sexy as hell.
She's perfect, but can I also make an observation?
All of the observations are welcome.
She is a steady buzzkill throughout this movie
Oh,
to the
yeah.
rest of the team. So to me, I have assessed that she is basically Dwight Schrute in that she takes her like place as being the third in charge super seriously, and she sticks to the rules way too hard, and it is to the detriment of the team.
What I think is so vital about her being the Dwight Schrute of this fucking movie, at the time, her being a strong, bad bitch, I liked that she is tough. Because she's like, no, motherfucker, this is the fucking rules, and I'm the one in charge. But do you know what sucks? Nobody fucking listens to her.
Yes, she was a bad motherfucker when this came out. She was the hero. But she was also the Laurie Strode to the PJ Souls, whereas in Lambert was.
Very true.
Yeah, Lambert was only just, a catalyst to Laurie Strode's success. And also, like, if we're trying to keep everybody equal, like, the reason fucking Sigourney Weaver had to be such a hard ass in this movie is because women had been typecasted up until this point as the softies, as the hysterical, as the pushovers. So she had to be strict with the rules, tough to a detriment to her own self and to her team for this to work. And so while it is fantastic and it obviously set the scene for movies to come and is a stark contrast to Leia, it's still kind of flawed. It's the ground floor for what we have now in female heroes.
I agree with you. Yeah, that's really astute. Also, your ass is a toot. Astute.
I appreciate that. I will toot for you anytime.
Toot for me, please.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Yes, please.
So basically, they crash land. They go out. It is Lambert, Kane, and Dallas, and they have weapons, and they go out to see what's going on in this fucking planet they've landed in. They find this very odd spaceship / monster that looks slightly murdered and dried, and
it's like at least 2 to 3 times larger than themselves.
Yes,
and that also is explained by the movie Prometheus. So essentially, the elevator pitch is that Prometheus was supposed to be an allegory for the Bible, for creationism.
Oh, God damn it.
But in a really good way of like, are we the masters? It was supposed to be more of like an introspective look of like, are we masters of our fate? Do we have free will? What was the reason for creating? Like, it was supposed to be a larger thing. And then like it went through like 3 directors. And then it just got fucking ruined. And then they were like, this is too overtly religious. So they took a bunch of shit out. And then they were like, well, it's unrecognizable then, and put a bunch of weird shit back in. And then they were like, well, this has to be big in Japan. So we'll put this. Like, it was just, was a camel. It was a camel. It was terribly done. It had the potential to be a really, really great film. But I believe it ends with that creature dying in that chair. I believe that's the last scene of the movie.
You said it's a camel?
It's a camel. So the adage of like a camel is a horse designed by a committee.
Yeah.
So like,
God,
it's a Parks and Rec quote, if I'm gonna be real. But yeah.
Oh my God.
That's exactly what it is. It was too many fucking cooks in the kitchen and took something that could have been really fucking cool, and then just like took a giant shit all over it.
And one day we'll get into how Casablanca is a camel movie.
Yes.
Oh no.
But not today.
I can't.
We do not have the time or the wine today, Blaine.
I don't have the energy, okay? We're in a pandemic. In the descriptions, they call this thing the space jockey.
Yes, that's amazing.
But I have a fun fact. The massive 26-foot tall prop of the space jockey caught fire and was destroyed when someone left a lit cigarette on it.
Whoops.
Yeah, that's,
it's
Emily,
likely to happen in a 1979 set where everything is basically papier-mâché.
Do you know how much pubic hair and cigarette dust was on this shit?
Just enough.
Just enough. Just the tip.
To give you that really grainy feeling. Ugh.
Like you can feel it in your teeth. Nom, nom, nom.
Well,
Feel
and then that gross. Oh, you know when you gotta tell your other to shave, you're like, yo, I don't have my body can't pull this out. Ellen Ripley is in the control room, and Mother basically starts to say, "This is a warning, not an SOS." So Ripley, as very Dwight Schrute, like when they found the joint in the parking lot, she wants to find out what's going on and go after them. And Ash, of fucking course, is like, nah, don't do that.
Dummy.
And
Ash is basically
somebody
Toby
please-
in that he was sent by corporate
Yes.
after he was switched out. Dallas says later that he was on 5 missions with someone else, and then at some point Ash was switched in, and from there he's been working with them.
Can we just say that the alien is just a sci-fi version of The Office? Bam.
Yeah, that's all it is.
I wish that could be the name of the episode, but I don't know how to type it.
That's just a bunch of noises. It's like an alien sound, which, by the way, that thing sounds like it's coming all the time, but whatever.
Oh, it is. So they have 3 astronauts on the ground to explore this like alien planet, which they mention is like super small, which I can't remember if that is important in this one or not. But so they're exploring, they find this giant ship, and then they just like decide to make themselves at fucking home.
I don't get it.
No.
Right. They don't even know where they are at all. And they're just like, we're just going to walk through like we own the place. And they decide that like going through the different caverns is a good idea. And at this point, I mean, they are fully aware that intelligent creatures had to make this, and probably more intelligent creatures.
And there are only
Like,
3 of them. Like,
only 3 of them, and their communication has gone down.
ugh.
So it's not even like they can talk to HQ. And Ripley's like, I want to go warn them. And Ash is like, no. And she's like, why? And he's, 'cause of reasons. And you should just sit down. And she's like, all right, that sounds solid. So they decide that spelunking is like a really, really good idea in what is essentially an alien well, it seems.
Oh, God.
So who is it that even goes into the well?
Kane.
It's John Hurt.
Thank you.
Kane.
Yes. So Kane is like all spelunk. It's fine
Also,
because they keep
why
finding
does
these
he go
different.
by himself?
They had to like hoist him. But I have no. I mean, I don't know.
Guys, do you know what I'm not gonna do? Is go into an alien egg river alone.
That's a
Also,
good
it's the
call.
size
That's
of a
good life
football field.
Yeah,
Like,
that's a big motherfucker.
And he's even making observations. So he like spelunks down, and then he's like, there's these weird leathery pods, and he's like, they kind of look like eggs, but I'm not sure. And then he's like, there's this mist that lies above the eggs that like it like interacts with you when you interact with it. And then he, in the most clumsy possible way, tumbles amongst the eggs.
God
And then
damn.
it's like,
yeah.
so he's just like, I guess I'll make myself at home down here.
Do you know what
And-
he reminds me of from Stranger Things? The cop. I can't remember his name. The main character.
Hooper.
Yeah, Hooper.
Hopper.
He reminds me of Hooper. Hopper. He reminds me of Hopper, and he's just like, oh, like, okay. motherfucker.
It's embarrassing. And so he's up close and personal with an egg at this point, and he sees that there's a being in the egg moving around. He's like, oh, some form of organic life, which I think we can say we're well past organic life, and we're on to like an actual animal at least.
I don't know if it's because they've been in space so long that there's this like disconnect that you are dealing with a different life force. You are dealing with something that does not operate the same way you do. You are wearing a hazmat suit to interact with it, so you may as well act as if it will attack you.
And that's when I think it's really important that they don't note what year this is like it's supposed to take in.
Yes.
Because the first time I watched this, I was like, oh, maybe they've interacted with many alien species. Like maybe that's just a thing in this universe, because when they first find out that they're getting like consistent intervals of radio interaction, Ripley's like, oh, human or no? Like, it's a very cavalier question that she
Yeah.
poses. Like, oh, is it not human? Because I would be like, are you fucking kidding me? We came to get over, and now you're
That's
telling
such a
me
great
somebody's
point.
radioing us? But I don't know. Like, they don't lay that out for you, but they seem unimpressed.
Yeah.
But so he like starts poking this egg because that seems like the right thing to do, and it opens up, and the face hugger fucking yeets onto his face and just hugs on.
Hey witches. So I have a confession. My name is Blaine and I'm a shirtaholic. I'm so glad I got that off my chest because I am constantly buying t-shirts. I'll see a cute t-shirt and I'm buying it. I don't care. And I always, no matter how many t-shirts I have, I'm like, I wish I had one that went with my spooky mood today. Because a spooky mood is not just one and done. There are many different spooky moods. And that is where a Black Star comes in. So a Black Star is a Halloween shop that not only sells t-shirts, but sells other fun homewares, and they also now have these neck gaiters that are also face masks, and they're Halloween themed as well. Some of the t-shirts that I am in love with include this adorable, it's like a burnt orange t-shirt. It's so beautiful with black gothic lettering, and it says cold brew, coffins, and covens. Girl, if that is not me in a nutshell, if that is not all three of us in a nutshell. But they have The Shining, they have this cute little tote bag that says, what's your favorite scary movie? Of course. They have plenty of other cute and fun things that are great gifts for other people. You know, Halloween is coming up. You might as well get a gift for your favorite creep. And they're also, if you are a shirtaholic like me, you are looking for your next fix. So, a Black Star, all one word, .co, ablackstar.co is where you can find all these fun goodies and, give yourself a little something special, and enjoy yourself. You deserve it. Treat yourself.
The eggs, so if you're watching this film, if you notice that the there's drops of like goo or water flowing upwards on the eggs, and the way this was achieved was very clearly by shooting them upside down, but it made for a really cool effect at the time. So if you fast forward back to that part and you see that the water is like flowing up rather than down, it's just a really cool little fun fact.
I love that detail.
Yeah.
That's such a good, because they say what the gravity level is like 0.08 or something.
Yeah.
That I don't remember exactly what they something 0.8. I don't remember if there was 0 in there or not.
Well, the moment where Blaine said that the Who lent them their blue lights.
Yes.
So this is the scene where that was used.
It's also worth noting that there are fucking tons of these eggs.
Oh,
so if they were to like erupt
thousands.
into a terrifying species, which they do, he is vastly outnumbered. I don't know, like the audacity. He's bold. Let's just say that.
Honestly, my whole issue with this film is the cavalier nature in which these men just meander through a variety of terrifying eggs.
And the egg like hisses at him at some point.
Nobody gives a fuck, and I'm just like, dude, this is some scary shit. I don't understand. It is a lot. It is a lot to handle. There's a lot happening.
It bursts through his fucking face guard, essentially, and just latches on. And they somehow get him out. I don't know if they really cover that process. They get him back onto the ship, and this is like one of her big Dwight moments.
Yeah.
Where she's like, so they want back on, and Ripley's like, absolutely not. We cannot break quarantine, which, like, good for you, baby.
Also, same.
Right? Keep your mask on. Don't break quarantine. These sound like good pieces of advice.
I completely agree.
Anyway, right? Very timely, very good in this moment.
Team Ellen.
But So she's like, while you guys are not on the ship, I'm the captain. Look at me. And then Ash is like, nah,
No.
I'm opening the gate, and just straight up disobeys orders, opens the gate, lets them in.
Ash.
Fuck that motherfucker.
Fuck Ash. This is also part number 2, where y'all should have just listened to Parker.
Yep.
Because they're watching now. They take off his astronaut suit and they find the face hugger, which looks like a hand with what's the word I'm looking for? Like crab legs. Attaching to his face.
It is
with
a king
It's like a lobster dinner on someone's face.
It's
Which
a
is
king
never a
crab.
good one.
It's a king crab meets a possum backside.
Ooh,
And it is
yeah.
so sexy looking to eat that shit. But I'll be honest with you, I want to say fun fact about the face hugger.
Ooh,
The
yeah.
face hugger, this is just another reason why I love this motherfucking movie. The face hugger was actually the parts that made it up were procured from a nearby slaughterhouse, and the makeup of this includes cow hearts, stomachs, and the insemination tube is made of sheep intestines. So this is an organic made prop.
That is
this
not
fucking
kosher.
shit. Also, I'm so sorry if you already covered this. The face hugger, like whenever they do the autopsy, it consists largely in part of shellfish.
Yep.
So not kosher at all.
None.
Damn. None kosher.
Ain't nothing
None kosher.
about this.
Ain't nothing kosher about this. Plus, I mean, just
Ain't nothing but a
impregnating
G
someone
thing.
via threat.
Baby.
Probably not kosher.
Hey.
But anyway, so we find out that it is keeping him alive because initially you assume that he's dead because his face mask was permeated. But
Right.
you find out that it is feeding him oxygen through itself to like put him in a coma
Yeah, it's
and
weird.
then do whatever parasitic activity that they have not figured out yet with this face hugger shellfish extravaganza.
I really love this creature. I think that the way, so basically right after what you're talking about, we find out that they are trying to they do like a scan, and then they're like, well, the only way to get this motherfucker off, we're going to cut it off. They try to cut it off. They find out the blood is acid. And and what's amazing about this is that what a great failsafe to say that if your creature has corrosive acidic blood and it's going to eat through the ship, which basically, so they cut through a little bit of the one of the king crab legs that are stuck to this motherfucker's head, and then it starts to fall through the bottom of the it goes through layers of the ship, and it is just fucking awesome, because what a great way to say, how are we going to kill this thing without dying?
Right.
Yeah.
You kill him, his acid's going to eat through the whole ship, and you're fucked.
Mind you, this is in space. So if it
Yeah.
gets through like whatever's again, I don't understand how space works, but I assume something keeps the oxygen out and the the oxygen in and the not oxygen out. So you want that to be a solid barrier. If it's
Well, and I don't know about you guys, but like the first time I saw that acid go through the floor, and I was like, go, 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 go. Like,
Don't stop, get it, let me see that.
Go.
I was like, it will not go through the spaceship.
No, and he's like, it looks like it must be molecular acid, which I don't know.
Absolutely, Parker. Thank you.
Yes, how amazing of you to notice that without any script.
Fucking Dallas is like, let me have your pen, which is a pencil, sir. You're an astronaut.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a
get your life
mechanical
together.
pencil. Also, you just saw this fucking shit tear through your goddamn spaceship. You really want to put a fucking pencil up to it and see if anything happens?
And then he hands it back. Like, what the fuck is he supposed to do with it? Put it back in his shirt
goddamn man.
Rude. Oh, kills me. And then they're like, but what about, our astronaut who's getting face sucked right now? And they're all just like, well,
do you guys know that there's at least 4 men on that ship that are like, can I put that shit on my dick?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
They were all thinking about
Which brings me to another point. So, they really wanted to convey the feeling of casual within this group. So they had scripted a sex scene between Dallas and Ripley.
Ugh.
But
No, thank
but
you.
they ended up, yeah, exactly. And they ended up revisiting it because the original intent of this sex scene was to be like, yeah, everybody was having sex. It was like nobody could be abstinent on this thing. So it was like really
Duh.
casual. Everybody was just trading and whatever the fuck. But they ended up revisiting this script wherein Dallas and Ripley were involved, and they were like, no, it doesn't move the story forward. It doesn't make any sense. Like, let's just
Thank
remove it
you.
altogether. Which I'm like, do you even fucking realize how feminist that is? They didn't care. I mean, like, they didn't care about the feminism of it. They were just like,
No,
how can we
but-
cut minutes from this? It's a 3-hour movie. What do we need to do?
Well,
Yeah.
and also that would have defeated the entire writing process of them being a gender in the script.
Exactly.
If you then add it in gratuitously later, unless you're like, all right, let's make it 2 men, in which case, please put that in there. I want to see it.
Right.
Okay, I'm gonna just say
but-
Dallas and like Parker. I'm down.
Parker's too good for Dallas. Are you
No,
kidding me?
Dallas. Dallas,
No,
I hate Dallas.
Just Dallas jerking off. I'm good. I got
Yeah.
that.
I don't need Dallas at all. The ship's name is Nostramos.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So this is related. I mean, and it may or may not be consciously related, but I highly doubt it. So Nostramos is a 1904 novel published in parts in a publication. But what it basically comes out to is this person in Colombia, and Nostramos dies in the end. So that is foreshadowing, yes, as to what happens later in the movie.
I always thought it was a Nostradamus reference.
That's what I
I would
thought.
have thought that too.
But shit, that's so much better.
That's fucking much better. Damn.
I also so early, like way earlier on when they're first landing on the planet, they give out, and this is again like a weird subtitle Easter egg. They give out their like reference code or some kind of code, their like serial number or something stupid. But the way that it's written, it's like 180-9er and then 2460 and then 9er, which 24601 is Jean Valjean's prison number in Les Mis.
Oh,
And I was just like, oh, is that like a Les Mis reference? Because it feels
Goddamn.
too.
Oh, it definitely
And I know
is.
it's not the full thing, but like it feels too
I'm just gonna say it is.
perfect to not be.
I'm just gonna say it is. Let's just say it is.
Because the way it's written in subtitles, the 9er is spelled out 9er, and then 2460, and then 9er again. So it like is segmented out on its own.
This movie is like the cast of The Office doing a production of Les Mis.
Yes.
That's what
It
this movie
really
is.
is. So we're just in the lab where Ash is being a total asshole. So he's looking at the microscope at what we're assuming is a sample of the face hugger, and he's like doing his business, and then Ripley comes in just to talk to him about
I
like,
love
hey,
this
you
scene.
can't. Oh yeah, he's like, you can't outrank me, like I'm the boss essentially,
Right.
and he turns off the projection of what he's looking at. Like she's not fucking allowed to see it.
Right. And then she goes to look at it, and he's like, please don't do that.
Yeah.
Right, and she
she's like-
apologizes to him.
She does, but she comes
Damn.
back very cattily, and
Yeah.
she's like, so what are we going to do about this? And he's like, well, we're going to continue to study it. And she's like, remember, whenever Kane and Dallas are off the ship, I'm in charge.
Yeah.
So you need to answer to me. And it was
Yep.
basically a power play of what's going to happen going forward. And, you know, obviously being the white dude that he is, Ash isn't going to listen to that. He's going to continue to take his own, you know, objective above hers. But it was really cool. It was very, very cool to see Ripley in that position where she was very coolly, very calmly. Throughout this entire movie, she's very cool, very calm.
Oh, yeah.
Saying, I'm the fucking one in charge. Here's how we do things. This is the procedure. You're the one in the wrong. Fuck you.
I also love how he's like, that was a risk that I was willing to take. Bitch, that
It's
was
like,
not
cool.
your risk to take.
They're all hanging out, and then Ash calls them and says, come see Kane. And he's like, what? And Dallas is like, okay, what's going on? He's like, it's better if you just come see.
No.
And Kane is, the thing is off of his face.
Mm-hmm.
It is not there. And they go into the room where he is isolated, and they don't even shut the goddamn door behind them.
No.
Nope.
And Ash, finally they find the dead creature. It's like, looks like when a spider dies and the legs curl up.
Ugh.
And
Yes.
they find the creature, and they want to take it back. Ash wants to take it back. Ripley's like, let's get the fuck rid of it. And Ash is like, no, bitch, I know better. My penis is about 1 centimeter long, so, and he is like, I want to take it back. So he puts it, and they start investigating it. This is where all the slaughterhouse innards and the hearts and stomachs are kind of evaluated.
Looks like an oyster.
It does. It looks like a really good steak.
You looking for a
sidekick.
pearl, bitch?
Honestly,
Hey.
if you put enough fucking Italian seasoning on that, I would not eat it. You know? Maybe. Honestly, if we start a restaurant, we're gonna have a thing called the face hugger special.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
obvious.
that's just me
Yeah.
sitting on your face. It wouldn't be.
That's true. That is, I'll take that.
I'll take that every night.
I'll take two.
Every goddamn day.
And the tagline would still be "Search for the pearl," which is the funny part.
It's the clip.
Hell yeah. Oh my god.
Only
I
10%
love
can
the
find it.
Ellen is the only rational person in this whole film, because she's like, and also Parker. They're both like, kill it and throw it away. And everybody else is like, no, but science.
We see that Ash is in the control center, and he's talking to Mother and dealing with things there in like the all-white room while little twinkly lights go off everywhere, signalizing different things. And Ripley comes in, and she's like, so we're gonna do this, huh? We're gonna keep this guy even though quarantine should have happened. And he's like, well, we don't know like what is going to happen. Like, his life really was at stake if we didn't bring him out of quarantine. And she said, unfortunately, by breaking quarantine, you risk everybody's life.
That
was
episode
where I
title,
was like,
unfortunately, by
I'm
breaking
Ripley
quarantine.
2020.
I love that we could replay this as a commercial for modern day.
Yep.
Finally, they take off after that. They take off, and Ripley's upset because she's like, that's not standard procedure. She Dwight Schrutes it. And
She really shrewded it.
She shrewded it. And they take off, and they're talking, and again, Ash is like, come see Kane. And Kane is awake and wearing a gorgeous lace-up corset. And there is a sound. So what I love about this scene is he seems fine. He's talking to them. Oh my God, he is alive and well. And then they are like, he's like, I am just so motherfucking hungry. And he tells them what he remembers, which is he just kind of remembers, the thing jumping out of the egg. So they go to eat.
So none of the actors in the scene knew what was about to happen.
I have exactly the same fact.
Yeah, they had no fucking clue. This was one of those like Michael Scott exit moments where they're like, let's just let them react. So of course we have the great Parker, who is sitting next to Kane, and they're talking about like, oh, the food here shit, but like it'll be better back home. And they're all just like laughing and having a good time and eating what they're like affectionately calling their last, because essentially they're going to go back to cryogenic sleep after this meal and then like wake up on Earth, which they've said at this point is like 10 months away, I think.
Can I just say, like, can we have that?
Right. So they're eating and they're all having a good time. And then the famous alien scene starts to happen. So Kane is like, it almost looks like he's choking. And Parker's trying to like pat him on the back like a friend, like, "Oh, buddy, it's gonna be okay. You had a day."
Like, they're joking up to that point, and so Parker's like, "What do you mean? You don't want to blah blah blah?" And
you
so
Kane, or something like just ridiculous.
Exactly.
And he's just trying, and he's like, "Oh, I've eaten worse food than this," and then starts choking, and then he like jumps up. Everyone's freaking out except for Ash, who seems weirdly calm about the whole thing, and he like retches over on his back and then lays back on the table and then has a surprise C-section to this little cute baby dick looking alien. Just get up and then just like right across the room.
Can I just say?
No, but first he's like, "Hello, my honey. Hello, my darling. Hello, my girl."
Baseballs right now kills me. And I want to just say one thing about that scene where the chest burst scene.
Yes, please do.
The whole time that scene is happening, where they're eating and they're talking, there is the sound of a heartbeat happening in the scene, and it is creating this tense situation that you're not sure if first time viewer, you're not sure what's going to happen, but you're like hearing ba-bum, 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 ba-bum.
I didn't notice that.
And it really got to me because I obviously know that scene, but I watched it with Trap, my husband, who didn't remember this scene.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Do you know what's going to happen?" He's like, "Nah." And I was like, "Get ready, because here it comes."
And I also would like to note that when it yeets out of him, Parker tries to stab it, and Ash is like, no, let him go.
Parker, the actor who played Parker, was so like traumatized by this that he like was not okay for like a day. Immediately after this, they do yeet Kane's body into space.
They do. That's a true yeet.
I mean, if anyone has been ever yeeted, that's the yeet of all yeets.
If anyone yoted, it was yeet. It was. Also, can we just take a minute to appreciate the little dick alien? It looks like a little penis with a grill.
I love that.
It's if Flavor Flav was a dildo.
Honestly,
that's what it looks like.
Well, and I read that the reason the people that developed the character thought that giving the creature no eyes made it much more soulless and scary. Oh, yeah. I really agree with that. I think giving it no eyes and just these like fucking amazing grills the whole time, really adds to the beauty of these little tiny penis-like aliens. Well, really, aren't all penises aliens?
Oh,
really?
Yeah. Upon seeing this fucking alien launch right out of Kane, who is second in command, they're like, "Run!" So they're like, "Cool, we're going to send Brett out to look for this whatever ran off, because it can't be much bigger than what we saw it being." And also Jones, the cat, is missing. So wherever Jones the cat is, the alien must not be far behind. So they send poor Brett out on his lonesome to find this. And Brett finds Jones a couple times, and Jones, being the savvy ass bitch that he is,
bitch.
He's so perfect in every way. And then finally, Brett catches up to Jones. Alien catches him from behind. He like swoops in from behind, and Brett turns around to be like, "Oh no!" and Alien gets him. And meanwhile, Jones is like, "Yes, bitch."
Oh, bitch.
Later days. Can we also talk about the weird molted baby skin that he found?
God. That is
I
an
think
exoskeleton.
Jones was playing with. It looked like a snake skin to me. I wasn't sure, but I was like, was the cat playing with that? Jesus.
So what happened is Brett was chasing Jones because Jones was chasing the alien. So they were like, "Don't worry about the cat. Just, do whatever you need to do to find this fucking unknown thing." So Brett is chasing Jones, and Jones himself, I apologize for misgendering, Jones himself happens upon the exoskeleton of the alien, and as Brett is like wrestling Jones to the ground before he takes off, he's like, "What the fuck is this?" And it is the exoskeleton of the alien that has already evolved into its full form.
That's the alien's rubber.
They're using this weird little, basically it looks like the game Pong radar system,
yes,
to find alien, which I think Ash built it, and he's like, it doesn't really work. He's like, it only works when you're relatively close. It's within like 500 yards or something, way too close. And it worked, and he explained how it worked, and Ripley was like, that seems fake to me. She didn't seem like she really thought it at all, but they're still using it. And then like the cat fucking sits, because cats are assholes. Do you hear me, cat? They're assholes and ruin everything. And so she's setting it off, and it's just a fucking disaster.
Can I also say
why did they bring a cat? Is my question.
No,
why?
I don't know why.
Just
Look,
like
I'll
a
be
monkey
honest.
or the dog.
I'll be honest. You need a dog or a cat anywhere in your life at any time. But
my
outside
question,
of
was
that,
the cat in its own little cryogenic sleeping bag?
if I were in that situation, god damn it, I would want a dog or a cat. Because I'd want to feel that thing. And I kind of, that humanized this group of people for me. That they had an affinity for this cat. Fun fact, they used a German Shepherd that they hid behind a screen to startle Jones into reacting. So every time he's like,
I'm so mad.
doing whatever he's doing, they actually accomplished that by scaring him with a dog. They are all in the other area and they're discussing the plan. So the people that are left are Dallas, Parker, Lambert, Ash, and Ripley. Mm-hmm. And they're all chatting about, okay, here's our plan. And Jones. They're all chatting. Let's have this plan. So we're going to drive it into the airlock and we're going to push this shit into outer space. So at one point, Dallas goes into the motherboard area and he asks Mother if she can compute if they're going to survive. And she said, cannot compute. Dallas then is like, okay, I'm going in.
Fucking Ripley's just like, you know what? I now have access to Mother, so I'm going to find out myself. And while she's while she's questioning Mother and Mother's delivering all of these non-answers, as in, like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't have the information on this. She comes across the fact that her team, the people she's been working with over the past several months to find other life within the space, whatever the fuck, that is insignificant. Their lives have been deemed inconsequential. What is most important about their mission is that they find other life and bring it back.
So yeah, there's just shit left, right, and center here that I do not care for.
Well, and right before they get to that point, when she finds out that basically like the only mission was to get the organism, and if everyone dies, that's just cool. Before that, Dallas goes out to find Alien and gets fucking murdered. Fun fact in here, Parker and Ripley, like a lot of fights in the whole movie. And actually, Ridley Scott, fun fact, told the actor playing Parker to really annoy Sigourney Weaver off set so they'd have tension when they're acting. So that really added to when she's angry at Parker. He actually said in an interview, he was like, I was upset because I really liked her and I didn't want to make her not like me. But the idea was that it would create a more natural annoyance.
That's funny because you can feel it.
Sigourney figures out that Ash has been against them this entire time.
Yes.
And once she's in the Mother area, she's like, hey, Mother, like, you know, what's going on? And Mother is like, hey, only the discovered life form is like necessary back. Everything else is expendable. She's like, well, what the fuck? And then Ash shows up right next to her and she's like, what? And Ash is like, everything has an explanation. And she's like, I don't give a fuck. And so they fight. And so Ash gets the upper hand, and you can see he's sweating this white, and you're like, this guy's a robot. Yup.
Yes.
And so they fight a little more, and Ash ends up throwing Sigourney on top of a desk area, which we're made to think is Ash's, where he has like naked ladies set up, which is supposed to be the theme of the late 70s. And as he's choking Sigourney out, Parker...
It's a porno magazine.
Right! Parker and Lambert show up, and Parker goes in on Ash so that Sigourney is able to leave, and Parker ultimately ends up knocking Ash's head off. And that's how we discover that Ash has been an android this entire time. And he starts leaking all of this android juice. And somehow they rig Ash's head to reveal some answers.
The design team used a mixture of milk, pasta, caviar, and marbles to create the android blood, producing nearly as alien a life form as Alien itself.
Jesus Christ. Also, I just love that jump cut when they're using, like, obviously a dummy head to reanimate him. And then it's the worst jump cut you've ever seen to, like, his actual head just with a cup of milk on his head. And he's like, yes, I am robots. Hello.
What are the chances of the rest of the team living? And he says, I'd like to reveal the chances. However, like, in some such odd words, he's like, I don't think you'd like them. But he's just like, I wish you luck. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, you don't have sympathy, bitch. You're an android. We've been through this.
Yeah. And that's when Ripley, Lambert, and Parker move on. And she's like, hey, we're getting out of here. I know 4 people was a lot to ask to run out on the shuttle ship, but 3 is much better. And so she's like, we're going to take our chances on the shuttle ship. You guys go figure out the actual, like, engineer shit about the ship, and I'm going to go find this cat. And so
God.
Fucking Ripley runs after this cat that she doesn't know where it is, and she finds it in a really weird scenario. And while she's doing that, the alien walks up on Lambert and suggests that with its tail, it rapes Lambert and kills her.
It's awkward.
And from there, like, I wasn't trying to read between the lines or anything. I was just taking it literally. I was like, cool, so she was raped and killed.
The actor who played Alien was actually found in a bar. He's a Nigerian man. His name is Bolaji Badejo. He was sitting in a pub when one of the casting directors for Alien actually spotted him. He's 7 foot tall. He was a graphic artist. Jesus. And he had the perfect frame to fill out the costume. And he was cast beating out another actor named Peter Mayhew, who played Chewbacca in Star Wars.
I have his autograph. Shit.
So they're prepping to leave. Once they pull this trigger, basically, they have about 10 minutes to get out of the ship and to evacuate in this shuttle. Ripley finds Jones, puts him in his carrier. There's no fucking licking it. It's just fucking sticking it in. So he is a grown alien at this point. He's got his double grill. He is drooly as fuck. I mean, if you wanted a really toothy blowjob, he's your man. Or they, or whoever this person is. Gets Parker first and then gets Lambert, and Ripley hears it. You can hear it echoing in the halls, and you hear it in the radio. As she hears them die, Ripley initiates what is called the scuttle procedure, which is what I also call it when I am eating popcorn furiously before Travis gets home, and then I scuttle to appear as though I have been calmly sitting.
Oh no, the scuttle procedure is when you realize you're out of toilet paper after you pooped.
I hate to correct you both, but the scuttle procedure is when your mother has said to take the chicken out of the freezer after you get home, and it's 5 minutes before she gets home, and you're like, the chicken's out of the freezer. I don't know what happened.
Get home, and then I'm like, oh, she goes like she's about to try to leave. This is the most effort at the cinematography in the whole film.
Oh, God, this is so good. Also, I want to note that it says it's 5 minutes that you can undo it and 10 minutes until it's done.
Yep.
Until it, like, all blows.
Yep. So she basically starts to run towards the shuttle. She has Jones. So she sees that the alien is actually beyond where it's basically in front of her path. She needs to pass it. So she's like, fuck, I guess I got to go back, shut that shit down, and figure out a new way. So the cinematography right here, there's almost this like strobe light effect, and her eyes are wide, and she is recoiled in terror seeing Alien and trying to both be quiet and escape and not be noticed. And at that moment, she leaves Jones there, the cat. And so she goes back. She tries everything to quickly rescind the scuttle procedure, and she misses it by a millisecond. And in the most pivotal moment of this film, she says, "Mother, I've done it." And Mother's like, "Too fucking bad, bitch. It didn't work." She's like, "Fuck you." And she calls Mother a bitch.
Mother turned into Mommy Dearest, and she's like,
Mommy Dearest. She tells Mother to go fuck herself, and she fucking throws a chair at Mother.
In the meantime, she finds Jones, the cat, in his cage, and she's like, "Cool, come with me." They get into the shuttle that's supposed to take off from spaceship, and in the meantime, she's scrambling to get everything set up, like including like suits, because we find out it's 6 weeks until she gets back home. So she's quickly trying to make sure that she's going to stay alive until she gets home within like 3 to 4 minutes. So she gets in there, she's ready to go, she launches off. In the distance, because she's launched off early, she sees the Nostromo's blow up. The Nostromo's blows up, and within 2 consecutive explosions, it rattles the shuttle. Ripley is like, "Cool, it's just me and Jones." She puts Jones in a more lengthy shuttle. Yeah, like more lengthy pod so that Jones can, move around and stretch his legs and stuff. And she, in turn, strips down to what is the lowest rise underwear known to man. And I'm like, "Ma'am, how are you comfortable? Where's the movement coming from? Are you okay with that crack?" Like, I appreciate the tank top because I'm like, yeah, that's better than a bra. At the time this movie came out, this body meant this is the goal. This is what strong looks like. This is what healthy looks like. This is what sexy looks like. And throughout the 90s and especially the 2000s and, absolutely now, that changes.
Okay, so Ripley is in the pod. She has escaped. The alien is in the pod. She is in her undies. She ends up doing this amazingly fabulous maneuver where basically she removes the air from the ship while she's discreetly putting on her suit and her helmet. Amazing. And immediately she turns her back and she is singing. What is she saying, Emily? She's saying
Lucky Star.
Lucky Star. And
they actually had to get the rights to that song, which cost a lot of money. It was just a few bars, and they had to get the rights to that song. And actually, who was it? Ridley Scott got a lot of flack for the money that was spent toward getting the rights to that song for this short scene.
She is so strong because, unlike everybody else, she turns her back to this creature. And he is behind her, and you don't know what's going to happen, but she knows. And at the exact right moment, she pushes the button, the fucking door to the station, the fucking little pod opens, and fucking alien gets yeeted out of the fucking ship. And he holds on for a second and flies out, and she shuts the door. And already
she
Jones...
shoots him with a grappling hook.
Yep, and Jones... Jones is already in his little safe space, his little safe cat nook. And this is where I want to interject a fun fact really quick. So originally in this movie, Scott planned for the aliens to have life cycles that were a lot like insects. So they grow and die fairly quickly. So in this scene, you're seeing that alien is hiding in this shuttle, and he doesn't seem very spry. So what's happening there is that the life cycle for this is already ending. So what I actually took away from that knowledge of reading that fun fact and watching the film was like, can you just imagine if they had just been like, let's just not go after it and leave it in the rest of the space station, and it would have died within the day and done. Then she turns on the propulsion of the little shuttle, and this thing fades to stars, and she's sleeping with Jones.
And it ends with her saying that basically the mission ended with the rest of her staff dead. And she is the only surviving member. And she is expected to land upon Earth in 6 weeks. And she's signing off.
So it seems like Sigourney Weaver hit the like abort message in the nick of time. Like that should have aborted it. But my guess is that Mother was like kind of corralling the alien into the escape pod already, and therefore didn't give a fuck if Sigourney Weaver lived or died.
Yeah.
So, like, I think Mother was opening the appropriate doors and, like, kind of corralling the alien to the escape pod for its return to Earth, because it's even, like, tucked away by the time that she gets in there. So I think Mother didn't, like, once it was set, it was fucking set. She had the alien on the way to the escape pod, and that self-destruct thing was not coming undone, even if she undid it instantly. The moment she turned it on, it turned on this like series of events that corralled the alien into the escape pod, and then that was that, because it doesn't matter to her, to Mother, if Sigourney Weaver lives or dies. That's my theory. Blamo.
Damn. I've never heard that one before, but I really like it.
What are we rating this on?
Face huggers.
So the only other movie in our entire possibly around 30 episodes that I've done at a 10 is The Thing. I'm gonna give this a 9.75.
Nice.
Because it's not The Thing, but it's almost The Thing.
It
and
is.
Here's the thing about The Thing in this movie. This movie to me is, you guys know I love the 80s. It's basically the 80s. It is sci-fi. It is all kinds of people. It is aliens. It is creepy. It is cats. It is fucking interesting lore. To me, this is the closest I can get to sci-fi that I'm really going to enjoy it. I could not find fault in this movie. The production value of this film for the quality that we got for the budget that this movie had has always stood the test of time for me. Even watching it now, knowing that so many other types of movies exist, I think this movie will always be a classic.
I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. The effects and the storyline were amazing. I will say that the fact that the only Black man or Black person on staff was an engineer, and which was clearly the lowest class in the staff, really fucking sucked, because obviously it was made clear in the beginning that these staff members didn't have a race or gender to begin with. That could have been assigned to anyone. Also found there was a lot of sexism in the script. Regardless of what the writer was like, hey, yeah, let's make this person a woman. Right down to the scene where Ripley was alone by herself in this shuttle where she was just trying to get away from everything, and she was stripping off her clothes to be like, I don't give a fuck. I'm just trying to get home. And of course she was given this like low-rise underwear where not even all of her ass was covered. And I'm like, who the fuck is wearing that on mission? Nobody. This is a fantastic movie. It represents a lot in film, but as it's 1979, it has a lot to go.
I fall in the middle. I give this movie a 7.5. I love this movie. I didn't love it the first time. We've talked about, I watched it under the right circumstances, and I think that changed it a little bit for me. And I also hate the ending of the franchise. I enjoy that. I love sci-fi. You guys know that. I love horror. I think it brings it together really well. It's a slasher in space. Who doesn't love that? It's problematic at times. I am a little salty that Parker didn't survive. He should have. He was the only one that was like thinking correctly the entire time. He had sense. He had know-how. He's the only one.
He also was like, I need my money.
Right. Which, like, same. I mean, I stand Sigourney Weaver no matter what. So, like, I pretty much just worship anything that she's in.
If you rate and review this podcast, we will exclusively have an orgasm in your name.
We
Okay.
really will.
We honestly, I mean, I'm not even kidding. 2,
Voted.
if you rate and review this podcast, you're going to help us with the future of this podcast because we love doing this and it's an expression of our friendship and our love for one another and our love for horror and the beauty of fear in our lives that we can control.
Spooky things.
When we can control our fear, we can control our emotions, and that's something we all hope to do.
That's
So-
bold, especially when I'm drinking through a Twizzler straw.
I am straight up drinking truly in a wine carafe, so it's what it is.
And I would also just like to add that when you're adding a review of us, especially a positive one with a comment, we're reading it. We're reading it in real time, and we are very likely to read it out loud in our episodes.
Yeah, so
And sexually, we are very aroused by them, so we will review them out loud for you.
Breonna Taylor's murderers are not in custody, and the people that peacefully protested are. So sign those petitions. Those are mostly at change.org, I'm assuming, like every other important petition.
And also Google what's happening in Portland right now, because it is very dangerous and it will affect all of us. So please, please look into the Deep State Oregon debacle and how you can make change, whether it be petitions, whether it be protesting, whether it be donations. Do your work. You decide to sign into this. Now do your work.